Hi, I'm Mark from Mark My Words, and today I wanted to do my first movie review on this new channel. And I couldn't think of a movie that was more excited to see in recent years, and the hype that led up to it was so impressive that I was really hopeful. And I'm talking about, probably don't even need to introduce it after a build-up like that, but talking about Star Wars: The Last Jedi, written and directed by Rian Johnson. So, to preface the review, I was pleased with The Force Awakens. I think J.J. Abrams did a very good job of rebooting that. I was happy with some of the hope, the new hope that he instilled into that movie. So I was really excited about The Last Jedi. I didn't really like the idea of another Death Star in The Force Awakens, and some of the plots seemed to be very much borrowed from some of the past Star Wars movies. That said, it did what it needed to. It was a nice palate cleanser. It got people excited to see Star Wars again, and to see a Star Wars movie that was very well done by somebody who really cared about the movie, and I had really high hopes. And going into The Last Jedi, I was even more bolstered by all the great reviews by the critics. I mean, I think at the time of release, it was about a 93 or 94 on Rotten Tomatoes. So I went in with real excitement and real hope that it was going to be, as good as The Force Awakens, if not deliver on that promise. So let's talk about some of the pros, in my opinion, of The Last Jedi. It looked beautiful. The cinematography was really well done, and I really liked how Rian Johnson did some of the kind of the epic battles and out in space. I mean, different. It seemed different. So I really thought he approached that from a different tactic, and it looked fantastic. It was decisive. I mean, he made some clear choices in this movie about how certain characters were going to act, interact, conclude. So I think that's a pro and a con. I mean, sometimes a director can't be both things. You can't be, you can't kowtow to the demands of Disney or any other whoever's sponsoring the movie. So I think he was decisive, and again, it was good and bad. The opening space battle tends to resonate with me as a very cool scene. It was great. I thought that was great. The Laura Dern scene, and by all means, don't listen to this. It's been out for a few weeks, at least a month. So this is a spoiler type review. But Laura Dern's kind of kamikaze mission into the Super Destroyer, whatever you will. I thought that was a very cool scene. Kylo Ren and Rey, their scene with Snoke, and they're battling their guards. That was one of the high points in the movie. Seeing Yoda again was good, but I'll also get to why I thought it was bad. And I enjoyed how they utilized, although I felt it was brief, R2, 3PO, Chewbacca had nice cameos. There was that scene where Princess Leia told C-3PO to wipe that look off his face. I thought that was amusing. It was very in tradition with what has been happening in the past with C-3PO, R2, using the hologram of Princess Leia with Luke, and thought that was a nice reunion of sorts. And Chewbacca had some nice scenes with the, well, boy, I'm gonna be mad at myself for not remembering the little creatures, but porgs. So I thought that was good. But I felt this movie had more cons than pros. I really, in the end, I didn't like it. I'm sad to say I didn't like it. I reserved my judgment so many times on this, but in the end, I didn't like it. I felt that there were so many abandoned storylines and threads that Abrams introduced that Johnson just jettisoned, that I wasn't too pleased with, particularly Rey's parents. I mean, there must have been some idea that she was a descendant of Obi-Wan, related to Luke, Leia, or Han at some point, or maybe the Emperor, or I don't know. But they dangled that carrot, and it was just whisked away, saying that her parents were junkers and just sold her. So I guess some people really liked the fact that she came from no one. Anakin did, but in the end, I kind of was hoping there'd be some lineage tie there, so that would be a bit more vested in the character. Snoke, I mean, that was just such a disappointment to me. He was kind of mysterious in the first movie, and you had some hopes that you were going to understand how he became acquainted to be a Sith Lord, the rise of the First Hand. I'm not saying that right. The First Hand, the Empire, First Order. There we go. So I was disappointed at his. They didn't explain anything, and his ending was very cool. I mean, that was a great scene, as I mentioned in my prose. However, I felt a little disappointed in the fact that they didn't talk about where he came from, didn't give any backstory. They didn't even talk about his seduction of Kylo to the dark side, and I felt that was a missed opportunity. Who knows? Maybe it'll be in the next movie, but at that point, he's dead already. Who cares? So, a little disappointed. No backstory of the Knights of Ren. Again, the seduction of Kylo to the dark side, so maybe that's going to be in the next episode. I'm not certain. But then the rise of the First Order, too. Where did they come from? The Empire was on, the packing orders after the Death Star blew up, and then the Rebel Alliance was this prominent thing, or soon to be. And in this movie, we see them decimated to about 12 ships, and after that run in the opening scene, they have a handful of ships, and the Empire's chasing them down. How did the Rebel fleet get to be so small? Devil's in the details, and I just didn't appreciate that. And Luke Skywalker, I mean, he's a pro and con to me in this movie. It's Luke. I mean, he's great. I love seeing Luke back on the big screen, but I just didn't like how they portrayed him. It's such a missed opportunity. They didn't explain as well as I would have liked his backstory, why he's, so crabby, and his ending. I mean, that ending was just terrible. I mean, leave him on that planet. Let him come back to the next episode, the next chapter, the next movie, and then maybe have that ending be there. It just felt as if they set it up to be, what is this next movie? Why do I even care about this next movie? I mean, we have Luke gone, we have Han gone, and what was that Princess Leia moment when she just flew out in space, and then Mary Poppins her way back to the ship? I mean, it was just foolish. And actually was surprised that she came back to life at that moment. We all know that Carrie Fisher passed away in real life, and I just thought, okay, it's early in the movie, but if that's when she's going to go, they did a nice close-up of her face, and I felt it was very genuine, and I was okay to let go, because that's what really happened in life. But still, they let Luke pass away, and Leia's in the next movie. I don't understand that, not at all. Rose, I'm sorry, Rose is the new Jar Jar Binks. That just didn't work. She didn't come off as likable or as great as on page as she does in film, and I was just not a fan of her and or that subplot, because Finn is a cool character. I really liked him, but in this I just felt he was wasted. The humor, it felt Spaceballs, it felt Monty Python, and I can handle some humor, but not at the cost of the character. And I felt they just made such a mockery of Hux, and I just didn't like it. A couple of those scenes it was like Hardware Wars. Remember that movie? It was a spin-off, like an early pirate version of, Star Wars, where like irons and brooms and stuff were makeshift spaceships in Star Wars, and I think it was a joke paying back to that. And I also felt like I want to see more of that great scene, or kind of going back to Empire Strikes Back, where Yoda trained Rey. I wanted to see a little bit more of that between Luke and Rey. I could have seen the whole movie easily more of Luke and Rey, and that whole casino scene just cut out. It just was a waste. I just didn't really like that. So in the end, and I've seen it twice, I'm just wasn't too happy with it. And BB-8 was one of the major stars of the first one. I mean, he looked kind of silly in this one. He was piloting a ship to get them out of danger. I mean, it doesn't fit like what droids do. It just didn't work. So I don't know about the hopes for the next movie. It's the first time I've actually felt I felt deflated since these new releases have come out. I mean, the prequels are just, even after many viewings, there's just no way I'm going to get past liking them. But this movie, I think, hits me in a different way, where all the hope and just been dashed. And I think Rian Johnson, now he's going to be helming 3 more Star Wars movies, and I don't know, I don't have a lot of faith that it's going to be a movie I want to see. And then we have Solo coming out, which is going to be one of those offshoot movies of a young Han Solo. I don't think that's going to be very good. I think they did poor casting, and they've already had 2 directors fired, Ron Howard brought on. I just don't think that's going to make it or be as successful as true fans want to be. I think The Last Jedi by Rian Johnson, he really kind of made this theme, let the past go, and I think he's really kind of telling that to Star Wars fans, that we need to let the past go and not hold on so tight, and there's some truth to that. However, your movies have become that successful and have remained so successful because of that love of fans, and I felt that they just jettisoned that, and it felt like a big FU. I could see why fans are polarized. Some people really like it, some people really hate it, and I don't know that I hated it, but I don't feel good about the movie, and I'll see where the future goes. So that's been Mark My Words, The Last Jedi movie review. Love to hear your feedback.